Are you growing or scaling a business? Yeah, there's a difference, and it matters when you're raising capital for your startup. Over an 8-year period, our guest, she scaled her business and sold it for 100 million, which provided her the opportunity to launch a purpose-driven VC fund investing in female entrepreneurs in Southern Africa. Oh my gosh, everyone, that's right. It's Fab Female Founder and Funder Friday on the Startup Life Live show. Let's glow, everyone, with music. Right, here it comes. And woohoo! Hello and welcome to the Startup Life Live show. I'm your host, Ande Lyons, 4 times founder and startup champion to founders around the world. And after raising those 4 businesses of my own, I have a pretty good idea of what you're crawling through and the roller coaster ride that you are on as a founder, proving an MVP or figuring out customer acquisition or onboarding some incredible talent. If it's not one thing, it's another, right? But I know that you're benefiting from it all because you always win when you launch a business, no matter what happens. And I'm truly grateful that you were, as we say here in Boston, wicked smart and carved out time to tune in to this episode, because as you do better as a founder, your business will do better. A big yoo-hoo to the live viewers tuning in. Hi, and replay viewers, I see you. So grateful that you came back for the replay, and podcast listeners, I'm sending a big warm hug out to you as well. You know, we are live right now on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So if you could like this video, it helps us reach more folks. And if you are on YouTube and you haven't done so already, I would be so grateful if you were to subscribe to the channel and come on over and join the Startup Life Live meetup group. See, this is where you'll get an alert whenever I post a new show, but more importantly, you're going to get the scoop on our guests, their businesses, what they're bringing to the table for that episode. So come on over. You can scan that QR code or tap the link in the show notes. So just a quick few Andelicious announcements. You know how I feel about sharing what's going on in the world that could benefit you. And of course, the first thing I always like to say is go to my girl, Arlen's Academy. She is always posting new bite-sized pieces of information that will help serve you and your startup. And please take a moment and go check out Scroobius. My gosh, these folks prepare you for funding in a way that is so unique and so wonderful. And they help you prepare a video pitch deck. Now, come on, that is awesome. And look what they are offering, 15% off if you use the promo code Ande15. And when I tell you, it is so affordable, seriously, go check it out. It's, you just have to go check it out. It's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to help prepare you for an accelerator or raising capital. And then finally, Founder University, if you haven't seen this, it's a 12-week program. They help you build an MVP and get your first users. It's $750, but guess what? If you show up every week and you do an MVP, they refund your money. So how cool is that? Anyway, just thought you'd like to know about it. Now I get to share our guest with you, this phenomenal woman. Let me just bring up my artwork and get prepared. Here she is. It's the wonderful and fab female founder and funder, Sarah Dusek. She's the co-founder and managing general partner of Enygma Ventures, a venture capital fund that focuses on female entrepreneurs in Southern Africa. She also offers online courses for early stage entrepreneurs, and to date, 5,000 entrepreneurs have completed the programs, becoming investor ready and learning how to build valuable companies. Prior to launching the fund, Sarah co-founded Under Canvas in 2009. Now, this is a premier glamping company. Oh my gosh, you've got to go check out these resorts. These are glamping resorts outside of national parks across the US and Canada, which she sold in 2017 for over 100 million, providing her with this wonderful opportunity to launch her purpose-driven fund. We are going to learn so much from this amazing woman. Let's bring her into the room. Hello, Sarah. Yay!
Hello, Ande.
I am so happy you're here. Please let everybody know where you're coming in from today.
I'm sitting in Cape Town in South Africa.
Yay!
At the end of a long day.
The end of a long day on a Friday, everybody.
On a
How
Friday
honored
too,
are
but I'm
we?
so glad to be here. It's so exciting to end my week this way.
Oh, I love that something fierce. And let's just say hi to a few folks who are tuning in. Hey, Gerald, I mentor female founders and always want to learn more. So happy you're here. And Taha, hello, dear. First time for me to attend with you. So happy you're coming in from Yemen. Hooray. And Jeanette, oh my gosh. Sarah, mother of 5, has a phenomenal business for bows and other accessories for girls' hair. She's just really rocking it. So happy you're here, Jeanette. Hey, Jose, come on. So great. Let everybody know where you're calling and hanging out from as well, Jose. I'm so happy you're tuning in. You are remarkable in every way. And Brent, oh my gosh, our loyal friend from Ottawa, Canada, a diverse person who's always reminding us, Sarah, diversity is innovation. Okay. You need to have diverse folks in your world, especially our neurodiverse folks. So happy everybody's tuning in. And we have Sarah here from Cape Town. So, Sarah, I always love to find out right away what happened that you wanted to leave the employee life behind. I mean, you're a very well-educated person. I think you have your law degree as well. Why did you feel the calling and to launch a business, especially a glamping resort business? Please share your entrepreneurial story with us.
Yeah, I think my entrepreneurial journey is slightly unusual in that I always had considered myself a pioneer. So I was always wanting to go where no one was going or doing things that no one was doing. But I had never really connected that with entrepreneurship. So I started my professional career out working for NGOs and working in far-flung places around the world. And I started my career in Africa and later moved to the Far East and traveled extensively into some very off the beaten path places. And I was always wanting to explore. So exploring was in me, pioneering was in me, sort of doing things, breaking new ground, starting new programs, creating things that had not existed before. But at the same time,
perfectly qualified, by the way. Those are all the ingredients.
Yes,
Go ahead.
I didn't know that. I really didn't know because my heart was really trying to do purpose-driven work and really work that I felt would be impactful in the world. So hence I went to work for nonprofit organizations. But I realized after sort of 6 or 7 years that nonprofits, they're they're great at bandaging problems, and they're not great at innovating solutions that are sustainable and really solve the heart of real issues. And that's when it really dawned on me that business is that vehicle, and that you can pioneer and innovate through business by solving a problem. And because businesses have to be profitable to exist, there you've got a sustainable solution.
Right.
So I was like, I went back to the drawing board and I was like, maybe we should go into business.
Yeah, I love that. It reminds me of the Burt's Bees story, right?
Yes.
Where she came up, she was living in the woods for years and she came up with the bees and lip balm and all of this. And she had the same epiphany. It was like, wow, I could probably save a lot of land and do a lot of good if I created a for-profit business and then took those funds and put them into purpose-driven opportunities.
Absolutely.
I love that. And had you had any entrepreneurial role models in your life, or this was just you being driven what was in your heart?
No. Yeah, there was I didn't really have any I felt like I had no exposure to entrepreneurialism whatsoever, other than the fact that I was always coming up with ideas of things for me to do. So I taught piano, for example, when I was like 15, 16 years old. That was like my Saturday job. And I started my own little piano school.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Dozens of little children who would come over to my house for the weekend, and we would do music lessons and music classes and music groups.
Well,
so I guess I was always probably quite entrepreneurial, but I just never really connected the dots until I was in my later 20s, early 30s.
And then how did the segue happen to Under Canvas? Like, what was the process that brought that together for you?
Yeah. Well, after I left the nonprofit world, I went back to school and I went and did a master's degree. And I was quite burned out and tired and frustrated and, questioning what am I going to do with my life, as you do with it.
What's my purpose? Yeah, that's important.
And my husband and I got married. So I was newly married. And we just started to really wrestle with this question: what if business could be used for doing good?
Yeah.
And it was before the time that impact investing was a thing, or that, purpose-driven businesses were, really, mainstream like they are today. And we just started to come up with this idea. I wonder if we could build a purpose-driven business. And my husband was from Montana, and I am from the UK originally. And we piloted a business in the UK when we first got married, and it failed.
Okay.
It was incredibly. It was a great social enterprise, and it was doing great work in the community where we were at work. But the great financial crash came along, and it took us
Oh,
out.
wow.
And it really kind of took the sail out of our our wings. But we really still felt like, I think we're onto something. I think this could work. We just didn't quite have the right business.
Well, and I love that you
And
had the dry run. I mean, seriously, folks, you hear me say this all the time. You never lose when you launch a business. You're going to take
no,
all that information you learned from the first one and apply it to the next one, or you're going to go back to work going, I'm never doing that again. And you're going to take some
yes,
nice, wonderful transferable skills with you.
yeah, absolutely. So we had our first sort of slap around the chops, and that business failed. But we picked ourselves up again and headed off to Montana, and thought, well, let's give it a shot in Montana and let's see what happens. So my husband's family are farmers and ranchers, and we had this crazy idea about recreating the safari experience. Obviously, I'd had a number of years in Africa,
Oh,
um,
yes.
and there we were back out in Montana questioning, okay, what should we do now? We've had one business fail, but we still think, we want to be on the business track somehow. What should we do? And what do we have? What resources do we have at our hands?
Right.
Um, and my husband's family farm was at our, within our remit. But my husband didn't want to farm. That wasn't what was on his agenda. And so we looked at Montana and looked at this amazing piece of land and went, this is so similar to being in Africa. These big, wide open spaces,
Yeah.
huge plains, huge sky. And that's when it dawned on us. I wonder if we could recreate the safari experience here in Montana. And so that was the nebulous of
Oh,
the idea of our glamping business. And
I
we
am so
started it.
fascinated by that. I mean, come on, of all the things that you could have been thinking about for, social and impact and everything, you brought your love of the outdoors. Everybody's seen the movie Out of Africa, right? You can see all of that beautiful, like, wow, like you really are in nature. But there's some comforts, going along with that. And had glamping really started yet then?
No. So our company really pioneered glamping in the US. We were the
That's
first.
so good. That is so
Um,
good.
and obviously, there was nothing really new about glamping, because the safari experience has been around for 100 years. And they used to, even in the national parks in the US, there's photos of Roosevelt glamping in
Right.
Yellowstone National
Oh,
Park 100
yeah.
years ago. But nobody was really doing it in the early 2000s. And so we just had this idea: could we recreate this old idea, and lever our passions and what we've got, because we've got this amazing, beautiful piece of land, and how could we use it to build something great? And that
Now,
was the
and
beginning
and
of
I
our
get you.
journey.
This is a big, hairy, audacious idea, folks, because unlike a piece of technology, we're talking about hard assets. You need the
Yes,
land, you need the
yes,
canvas, you need to design what are these going to do? How can we duplicate this? Each one's going to have a shower and a sink in it. How do we do that? How do we pull all these things together to make it glamping so we can, charge a good fee and have a nice profit margin, right?
correct.
I
Yeah.
just like, you and clearly are not only a pioneer, but that's a big, hairy problem to solve. And so you used your Montana property as a way to prove your value proposition for Under Canvas.
Yeah, but we had no clue at the time, right? That was what we were doing. Because that's what entrepreneurs do, right? You make it up as you go along. You fake it till you make it. And you're learning every time you make a move, you're learning something. And that's what's really unique about the entrepreneurship journey, is just how every step and every bit of progress you make, and that you don't make, actually, is learnings. Because we learned with that early product that people loved our tents. There was this huge excitement and demand for staying in a beautiful tent with a wood stove and a bathroom and a nice bed and nice food.
But being close to hiking in nature.
Yeah, exactly. But nobody was super excited about where we were located. So we were out on the prairie in Montana, quite a long way from anywhere, not near any of the major tourist destinations in Montana. And so we learned from our first minimal viable product, if you like, we learned there are aspects of this that really work, and there are aspects of this that don't work. And so our customer was telling us what they wanted and what they needed. And that created the opportunity for us to adjust and reconfigure and reimagine what we'd started to imagine on a very small scale.
Oh my gosh. Now, and this whole scaling, this conversation is going to have woven throughout it, everybody talking about scaling versus growing. And so as you and your husband started saying, okay, so where do we want to go next? What was the thought process? What was the analysis where you landed on, let's do something near national parks? Did you have a 30-mile, 100-mile radius, i.e., for national parks? How did you come up with that?
Yeah, well, when we realized, okay, we're in the wrong spot. We've got a great idea, but we're just not in the right place. What we realized was that potentially we could create not just one national park glamping resort, but that potentially we could replicate what we had done in our first site. Our first site after our experiment at my husband's farm was in Yellowstone. And our second pilot, if you like, was at Yellowstone National Park. And we realized this could work in lots of different places. So that really, in a nutshell, is the idea of scaling. So maybe the difference, if I define it, Ande, would be would have been growing our Yellowstone business. So we would have maybe added more tents, maybe charged a little bit more money, maybe added a different food offering or more activities. So trying to grow the revenue from that one site. Scaling was saying, okay, we've got a business model at this one site. How do we replicate it over and over and over and over and over again to really scale up the business? So not just grow the revenue, but really multiply our offering in an exponential way.
Okay, everybody, this is what you came for right there. That's the difference. And that's so important, founders, as you're building your startup and taking a look. I know you're probably out of breath from what you're trying to do just with your one product right now, but in the back of your head, you're going to get capital. If that capital is important to you, you're going to have to say, how do we duplicate this at a way that it doesn't cost us so much more? Right? That's the beauty of scaling, is that you're not going to use as many resources because you're duplicating what you already have in place. Sarah, thank you.
The duplicating exponentially. Those two words together. How do we duplicate and how do we do it in an exponential way?
Oh my gosh. And you clearly figured it out. So did you have to raise funds for this business? Did you have to get capital infusion? How did
eventually.
You eventually did, or
we did eventually. We bootstrapped for a really long time, actually. We had the privilege of building a profitable company, and that was hard because we had no resources. I did not have big pots of cash lying around where I could just fund this business.
Or family and friends who had big pots of cash?
No, none.
Most people don't, folks.
Most people don't. No, exactly. Right. That is the true story for most entrepreneurs. Not a lot of people have rich friends.
Right.
So we had to build something, and we started really small. And when we started really small, we made money, and we plowed the money we made, everything we plowed back right into the business, so we could grow it. And once we've grown it, obviously it's able to make a lot more money. And once you've made a lot more money, how can you use that to scale it? So that's what we did. We grew. We used the resources we generated to think about scaling. And people definitely said to us, "Oh, you're crazy. You're crazy to think about trying to scale. Why don't you just keep growing what you've got?" But we realized the exponential effect would be so much more powerful and so much impactful, and we'd build a much bigger business if we thought about scaling rather than just
And
growing.
did you bring somebody who was in the hospitality industry, who understood what multiple locations was like, to help give you some advice or mentor you or run operations or
That's when we
something?
realized pretty quickly that we knew nothing about running hotels. Because we realized, oh, actually, we've built a tented hotel.
Yeah.
That is what we've got. So I need an expert. I need someone who knows how to operate hotels, who knows how to be efficient, who knows how to do this properly, how to staff them properly. So after our first year in Yellowstone, when we had about 6 members of staff, I hired who became our COO, who was our sort of hotel manager, and he employed 20 people, 25 people to run that same location the next year. But we quadrupled our revenue. I mean, I was having a hissy fit because how am I going to pay for all these
Right.
new
I
people?
got to be here. Well, I can't do.
Yeah, but we quadrupled the revenue within that 1 year. And we just operated professionally like a hotel, and we just took the business to a whole nother level. So bringing on board somebody who had expertise that I didn't have, and recognizing I didn't have, was super critical for our growth.
That's a beautiful gem right there, folks. Okay. Because a lot of those people could never come up with this idea or even have the vision
No.
of how to execute or implement. But boy, are they good as a team member, right?
Absolutely. And it freed us up to then dream about, okay, we're going to go build the next one. I don't have to worry about operating this one. I'm going to worry about scaling. I'm going to keep my eye on that role and worry about someone else helping to really professionalize and operate our business.
So please share with us, because it's not all unicorns and rainbows, folks. We brought this person, and then we grew exponentially, and then we started to do other sites, and it was just woohoo, and then we sold. No, there are times that you, I'm sure, crawled through and thought, "My gosh, like, are we on a precipice, or is this all we're going to be able to do?" Tell us and share with us some of those moments where you were like, "Oh my gosh, this is hard."
I think
Every
all of
day.
those moments were hard from the moment we started to the moment we had a liquidity a moment, and there was barely a moment in the middle that was calm. And I definitely have a lot more gray hair than I probably should for being 45. But we basically financially lived on a knife edge for almost 8 years. And because we were sort of trying to be ruthless with growing, it constantly meant I was robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah.
And navigating cash flow was just horrific. And we also had the weather in the mix. Because of the kind of business we had, we often had to contend with huge snow dumps on our tents and crazy windstorms. And I remember the first year we were in Yellowstone when we first opened, and obviously me and my 5 other members of staff, one of whom was my husband, and I had 2 little children at the time who were 3 and 9 months old. And we were working around the clock. And one afternoon, early evening, as it often does in Yellowstone, actually, about 5 o'clock, a huge storm rolled through. And this storm was sort of physical and metaphorical all at the same time. And it literally flattened the camp. There was barely a tent standing after this storm rolled in.
Oh my
And my husband
gosh,
wasn't there
Sarah.
at the time. And I was there with my 2 little children and my 1 maintenance man and 2 housekeepers. And I got out of, we were living in a camper on site, And I came out after the storm passed. I came out of this, and my camper had been like swaying in the wind. And I'm already thinking, I don't know if this camper is going to make it through this storm, let alone my tents. Anyway,
And you've got two young children. It's like,
I'm terrified. And I come out. I'm crying, and I open the door, and the whole place is flat. My maintenance man knocks on the door, and he says, "You okay?" I'm not okay.
No.
I'm not. Really not. And we wander around, and I call my husband and I say, "We're done. This is over. This dream was a nice dream."
Yep, stick a fork in it, folks. It's done.
This is bad. It doesn't get any worse than this. People don't pay you to sleep in tents that fall over. And my husband said, "Okay, I'm coming. Don't worry. It's okay." My maintenance man says, "Hand me the phone." So I hand him the phone, and he says to my husband, "It's not that bad." I'm looking at him going, "What are you saying? It's bad. It's really bad." And he said, "It's not that bad. I think we can put the camp back together. I think we can do it tonight." My husband said, "Okay, well, all right."
Oh, give that man a raise. Love that can-do attitude.
And he, in that moment, he picked me up physically and emotionally, and he said, "Let's get to work. Stop crying. We're going to get to work." And we got to work. We called some neighbors for some help and said, "Can you come and help us? You know, this bad thing happened. Please come help." And a whole bunch of people turned up. We got that camp up that night, and our guests were amazing. Our guests helped. They helped us put the tents back up.
Of course, this is a great story for them to tell everybody.
Yeah, exactly. That's how everyone was feeling, like we're on this crazy adventure. We went camping and this big storm came through. And by about 11:30 that night, I had everybody back in their tents with dry bedding, clean bedding, asleep. I didn't give one refund that night. It was miraculous.
Oh my gosh. I love that. Get the clappers out. Oh my gosh, what a founder journey story. Everybody, please hold that in your heart when you're sitting there thinking your business is over as a result too.
No, Sarah. But it took someone to say, "It's okay. We can get back up." And sometimes, you just need someone else, because the founder journey is hard. And sometimes you get knocked down and you just feel like, I do not have the strength to get back up from this. This is too hard. Right. It's too difficult. This takes too much energy. And sometimes you just need a cheerleader, or you need someone to pull you up. You need
someone who believes in you. And this is so important, folks. If you can make sure you have someone in your life who believes that you can do it, and this is true. When someone says, "I think we can put this back together. I believe that we can. Let's get to work." It just gives it, because someone can go, "Oh," and empathize with you. Jeanette, you talked about your sister, coming over and crying with you over your situation. You said, "That's no good. That's not helpful." This wonderful man, the maintenance man, said, "Oh, I think we can put this back together." Thank you, Sarah, for sharing that wonderful story. And there's nothing more challenging when you're trying to build a business that depends on Mother Nature to come through for you, because especially with climate change, there's so much going on, and you were facing that every day. Did this become a teachable moment for you, where you thought, "Okay, how do we shore up our tents so that when weather happens, we're going to be more confident?"
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we the tents are pretty hurricane proof these days, so they can stand up to about 180-mile-an-hour winds. So we went back to the drawing board, redesigned. We managed for serious snow load, serious temperatures, serious wind, and really nailed the product. And the product's really, really strong now in crazy weather, which really has to be.
And founders, this is why. Yeah, and this is why these things come along. I mean, remember when we were interviewing Billy Price, and the first order of his sneakers, 85% of them were unusable. That was a disaster. But he said, "Okay, I need to use a better manufacturer, and I need someone who can really help me find that manufacturer." And boom, these disasters are really opportunities in disguise. Who was it? Napoleon Hill, that said, "Within each piece of adversity is a golden seed of opportunity." That's what you have to keep in mind. And Sarah, that's what you have shared with this wonderful story. I love that. We can all feel what that's like in our own businesses from that story. Thank you. So now you're at the point, it's 8 years, you've been living on that knife edge, and hello, you're doing this with your beloved husband. Can you just share a little bit about, because I did a .com with my husband, and it taught us some new tools and how to stay together, but it was not easy because we lost everything. How was that being with your primary relationship in the business?
It was, we often joke that first year when we started our business in Yellowstone was the year we either going to get divorced or that we were going to be together forever, because that was a really make or break year. I mean, it was so intense and so hard and so demanding. And we had little children and Mother Nature and uncomfortable living environments. And I actually think, and a camper in the mix, and freezing cold temperatures, and all sorts of crazy stuff. And I actually think it cemented not only our working relationship, but our marriage too, in some ways, and really taught us both what we were really good at and not good at, and what was his sphere and what was my sphere, and how we needed to work together as a team, because our livelihoods really depended on it. There was no safety net.
Right, livelihoods, but also being on purpose. You were both
Yes.
had this vision, and you were bringing your own uniquely lived experiences and nature and capabilities to the process of building this business. Oh my gosh, folks, if you if you are, in the process of building a business with a beloved, you got to have that work to that, and understanding and love and compassion along the way. And even if a co-founder is not a beloved that you're married to, it's still a marriage.
Yeah, it is. It really is a marriage. And, interestingly, I see a lot of businesses now. We obviously look at a lot of businesses to invest in, and some of the strongest businesses I still come across are run by married couples. And I think the synergy of great partnerships, obviously you don't have to be married to have a great partnership, but the synergy of a great partnership is really, really powerful for building something great. So having a co-founder, having somebody who has different skills than you do, who can stand alongside you, pick you up when you are down, compensate when you are weak, is such a powerful thing for building something great.
Oh my gosh. So LinkedIn user, for some reason, they're not sharing your name, but I'm saying hi back to you. And she's saying, Sarah, thank you for your transparency. It's a long journey, rarely a sprint, for sure,
100%.
right?
Definitely not a sprint. No,
Oh
more
my
like a very grueling triathlon.
So again, Knife's Edge, you were very, and I love that you said, we're going to be the leanest startup. We're not going to worry, have, glamour in our lives. We're not looking at that mansion type of attitude about being an entrepreneur. We're going to keep it so lean because we have an exit, because you had a greater purpose. You knew that you wanted to sell the business so that you can take the funds and put it toward your impact fund. So talk about the time when you said, okay, it's time to sell, or did, God, the universe send you somebody who said, hey, I'd like to buy your business. What did that look like?
Yeah, we actually weren't planning on selling at all. We were out raising capital for the business. We still firmly believed and were committed to growing and scaling the business. And I felt like we were just getting into our stride really with growth. And just an extraordinary opportunity came along. And at the time, we weren't ready to leave the business. Part of me still not really ready to have left the business.
It's your baby. It's your third baby.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm still very, very passionate and involved in the space. But there was a moment and an opportunity. And after almost a decade of living on a knife edge financially, it was a huge opportunity that would have been crazy to have turned down. And so we took hold of it with two hands, and not knowing what would come out the other side.
This is so important. If you could talk a little bit about this, because founders, there's a theory out there that you really should have your exit in mind when you launch and what that number looks like. What is the number that you go, oh, yeah, I'm not turning that down ever?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it was that same year we had asked ourselves that question. We had asked ourselves, what is our number? And what would it take to get there? And I had asked it about 6 months earlier. And we started with the question that said, what do you want? And that question is so powerful for me, because when you get really clear about what you're trying to do in life and why, and you really ask yourself, what do I really want? Knowing that helps you go after it and make it happen. And it's a bit like having a goal, yes, but when you are understanding what your purpose is and what your motivations are and why, that helps you put things in place to take hold of it. And so we asked ourselves, what do we want? And that meant putting a number on the business. That meant thinking about, what do we want to do next? That meant thinking about, what do we care about? What do we want for our children? Where do we want to be? And answering those questions meant that when an opportunity, we started to think, well, actually, to do that would mean X, Y, and Z. Let's put those things in place. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
And actually, it happened faster than we imagined it would happen.
Yeah. It could have been like a
years ago. And it wasn't.
And then, and so you were out raising money. What, you ran into an investor or a group, a fund that said, "Oh, this is right in our sweet spot."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what happened. And we sold to a private equity company, and I still sit on the board today.
Oh, excellent.
Still own a piece of the business. So we're still active and involved, and committed to seeing Ande Canvas continue to grow and thrive and scale. And
I love that.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you, and what thought went into launching Enygma Ventures? And of course, I'm going to want to know, how did you come up with that name?
Well, maybe let's start there, because Enigma obviously means it's a mystery. There was something that we loved about that, because raising capital is often a mystery for founders, right? It's very difficult. Yes. And there's so many things that you don't know, you don't speak the language, and it's mysterious. And so we wanted to demystify raising capital and make it easier for women to raise capital. As a female founder myself, I was really frustrated with how hard it was to raise capital, A, because I didn't have a tech company, and B, just because I wasn't talking the right language. I wasn't moving in the right spheres. I didn't know the people I was supposed to know.
You didn't have the social capital.
Didn't have the social capital. Didn't go to the right schools. Wasn't sitting in Silicon Valley.
Didn't look like what a female founder might need to look like. It's all that pattern matching. What did you find? Absolutely. Like, what did you experience, Sarah, during anything?
I experienced that all the investors I ever talked to were mostly men. Mm-hmm. I maybe met one or two female investors on my whole entire journey of raising capital. So very few, and I met hundreds and hundreds of male.
And did investors. You get the typical, like what we talk about here in the show a lot, is how the guys get, and when you succeed type of questions, which are very pro, and their co-founder, a female, could be getting them, what are you going to do when everything goes wrong? Mm-hmm. Did you happen to see any of that bias?
Yes, definitely. Yes, much more negative about, well, how is that going to work, or what's good, why would that work, or what would that look like, and so you're constantly trying to prove what you've done. And I remember the huge breakthrough came for me when a guest of ours, and she was a female VC in New York, she stayed with us, and she said to me, you should raise capital for this business. You're already scaling. We already had 2 or 3 sites. And she said, you need to be raising capital, because there are other people out in New York right now raising capital for your exact idea. And you are already doing it, and you are already making it happen. And I was like, what? And I had no idea about how to build a deck. I had no idea about the information that investors needed to see. I had no idea about return profiles and what investors look for and 10xing your business. I mean, I just didn't know.
Clueless.
And she was kind enough to tell me a lot of the things I needed to know, and to get out there and to start pounding the pavement like this other guy was pounding the pavement. And that really made me think, gosh, if I don't know, there's probably a whole bunch of other women just like me who are capable, have great ideas, pioneering, who also don't know. And I really think that's true. And so sort of the impetus for starting Enygma was, can we also help women know what they don't know and get them funded, and be biased towards women because the bias is against women getting funded. And how can we help them?
Absolutely. So I love that passion and I love that mission and vision for the fund. Why did you choose the geographical area that you've chosen?
Yeah. So we just felt passionate about emerging markets, and obviously I'd spent considerable amount of time in Africa in my early 20s and fell in love, and Africa had inspired Under Canvas to be the success that it was. And we felt like there's a lot of capital in the States, and yes, women are underfunded in the States, but the amount of capital being deployed in Africa is minuscule. It's like 100th of what's being deployed in the US. So we just felt like there could be double whammy, if you like. We could help women and help the continent by putting our capital here and seeing it go farther. Right. And just the extraordinary opportunities that exist to invest here. I don't have to fight for deals like I would if I was investing in the States, and get to meet some very cool people with huge vision, trying to really solve some massive problems that could transform the continent. So
absolutely. Deal with some real climate change, human conditions, etc. And what I love that your thesis, and we'll go a little deeper into your thesis, but that you like funding female founders with established track records, a proven revenue model, and demonstrated growth.
Yeah.
Does that sound? Did I capture that correctly?
Yeah, you did. You captured it really well. I mean, they can still be really small, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we typically look at businesses that maybe are only doing sort of $50,000 to a couple of $100,000 of revenue a year. So they're still really tiny. But we look at how could we help you go on the journey to get to over $1 million of revenue, and keep going. So how could we be your bridge to getting to the next phase?
And that's significant on so many levels. And because you had to crawl through and teach yourself, of course, you're a fast learner, you have some strong skill sets that you learn, not just running your business Under Canvas, but from your education as well. So you were able to quickly extrapolate what you needed and leverage the advice you got. And then you did probably a few pitches and you went, oh, okay, I see what they're talking about now, and quickly pulled it together. But, in the under-resourced and underserved areas of our planet that don't have that and have never even been exposed to it, they still have the ability to learn quickly, but now you have that empathy. You have that understanding of what they've been through. Now, do you have the good fortune where you took your funds and you didn't have to raise, get in some LPs on board, or is it strictly the money that you and your husband?
Yes. So we launched with our funds, and we're now raising capital for Fund 2. To raise a much larger fund, given we'll have a little bit of track record now of investing in women in Africa and finding women that are doing great things and building incredible businesses.
So talk about the transition from being a founder to a funder, because again, you were on the side of the table of raising funds, and then you went through the exit. So you saw that whole process, which is, I swear, it's like your whole lived experience, Sarah, has prepared you for Enygma Ventures and the huge impact that you're having. So I just want to, can I just say, I want to do a quick stitch that on a pillow, because what Sarah was saying earlier, what do I really want? You can see this flowing through everything she's got. So I'm going to say, stitch that on a pillow. you have that on the couch, right? The pillow reminding you, what do I really want? I just love how everything has just sort of flowed and brought you to this point. Even the moment when the Mother Nature made you feel like it was all over. Again, that helps you talk and coach and mentor the founders that you're investing in. So as an investor, talk a little bit about how you had to educate yourself for that role.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I foolishly thought, because the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence, right? I always thought it'd be so much easier being an investor than being the founder. And actually, it's just a different game, right?
Yeah.
The game is different, and both sides are hard. And the hard part about being an investor, of course, is you're supposed to pick winners, and you're supposed to pick, and the reality is that, and I didn't quite appreciate this until we started investing, that of course not every business you invest in is gonna fly. Some are gonna fail, and that's the nature of the beast. And some are gonna be rocket, they're gonna have rocket fuel and take off, and some of them are gonna poodle along and do just fine, and others are gonna completely tank. And of course, I am very emotionally invested in my women, and so I find it really hard when they're not on rocket trajectories,
Right.
and all to do extraordinarily well, and some of them are, and that was hard. And of course, not being in the thick of everything, sort of being slightly removed and standing back and being the coach and the mentor and the aid.
I gotta tell you, that's a hard role.
Yeah, and not being in there and wanting to like fix it all and take over. And so really learning to sit in a different seat has taken me quite a while to get comfortable in a different seat.
But there's exciting opportunities. So there's two women out of South America. They have a fund called Maya, and their first fund, they ended up investing in 2 unicorns. So their first fund was completely a hit, right? But they didn't know that going in. They had nail biter moments with everybody, and so now they're doing their second fund. And then we had Jennifer Mendoza from Mendoza Ventures. They invest in diverse founders from the fintech and AI and cybersecurity space. And she talked about when she, shakily handed someone that first check, and she realized about herself, like, that's not the right attitude I should be having. I need to work on my scarcity issues.
Yes, exactly. And I felt the same way, actually, because after, having had no money for such a long time, and, I was very careful with every cent that I ever had. And suddenly feeling like I'm definitely going to lose some of this money. It's a really hard thing. And especially when the money's mine. And
well, no, but I think it's even harder. But it's going to be even harder, Sarah, when you take on someone else's money and then you lose it.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, that's like, it's one thing if that's my feeling. It's like, okay, but I made that decision to lose that money. But now you're taking on, whether it's from LPs or someone says, I want to be part of your fund. Here's $100K or $500K because I love your track record. And all of a sudden now you're investing on their behalf with your fund. And
it's a lot of responsibility.
It is. Well, let's talk about one of the things that you set up. And I have, on the artwork here that I shared earlier, where it says, we're looking to invest in you, closing date 31 August 2020, apply now. Talk a little bit about this, and also your school, your the way you educate folks. I think that's so wicked smart, as we say here in Boston, because it helps you shore up, right, and get to know founders better. So what are they applying for right there? What does that mean?
Well, one of the frustrations I had with raising capital was how exclusive it always was to raise capital, and that you had to have an introduction to get in front of a venture capitalist. And so we don't do that. And so 3 times a year, we will open applications for any female founder in Southern and Eastern. We're also welcoming founders from East Africa too, to make an application. And it's a simple 5-10 minute exercise. It should be really easy to do and not difficult, to just tell us some basics about your business. And then we look at all of those applications. And 3 times a year, you get a chance. This is the month at this point in the year to apply. And if you are not successful, if you don't make it through to the next round, we'll tell you why, and we'll give you resources and opportunities to help you grow and improve. And so our sister company called Pranary.com runs several different courses for different stages of businesses to help you, get investor ready, launch your business if you've only got an idea, you're still at ideation stage, or become investment ready if you are early stage business. So we like to think we're the go-to place for female founders in Africa to help get the knowledge they need to help them grow, help them scale, and help them get funded, and actually maybe even get funded.
I got to tell you, that's a great tagline, by the way. And how great do you and your husband feel? Because, you know, women will get stuff done. It's just clear, hardworking. They've got, you know, family to feed often. They want to contribute. They want to feel fully expressed. And now you're giving them, if not funds, you're giving them social capital, you're giving them economic capital in the sense that you're teaching them how to do things. You're helping them up their game, as we do here in the Startup Life Live show, making sure folks have the tools and the resources in an area that's always been underserved. I got to tell you, you and your husband must go to bed at night just going, thank you, God.
We go to bed tired.
Yeah,
So must be something good. But like something, you know, last week, one of our female founders, and she's a total rock star, building an amazing fintech company in Zambia. She's invited to go meet the president of Zambia, and several ministers call her up, and they're talking with her and engaging with her about her growing her business and the scaling of SMEs in Zambia, and she's got serious social kudos, and she's growing like wild stuff. So hence she's got the attention of her government, and she's now sort of totally ramping up a gear.
And would you ever do you ever reinvest? Do you ever say, okay, we'd like to come in for another round?
Yeah, totally. She's out raising capital at the moment. We will totally reinvest with her in this second round. She's raising her Series A, and doing extraordinary stuff. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, hey, if she ever wants to come and tell her story on the Startup Life Live show, I'd love to interview her.
Love that.
Excellent. Yay. This is so exciting. So as you know, we've been talking about, some of the ways to be investor ready. What is it that you help founders with, and what kind of you've done a great job of telling us what you're looking for, and you're making it very almost democratizing the process by having the application where folks don't have to do anything other than apply, and you can review and get to know folks and see maybe they go in this funnel versus an investment funnel. But what is it that in the course and stuff that you feel that really gives them that investor ready experience?
Yeah, there's a couple of things I think that are super critical for us. And as we've been investing over the last 3 years, that we've discovered more and more is more and more important to us. And as we've seen the companies that we've invested in so far and how they're doing. And one of them is thinking big enough. So it's back to this idea of scaling, really. Do you have a big enough dream? And what I found with women is we definitely like to put some ceilings on ourselves. We definitely like to think in the manageable, what we think we can achieve in a certain amount of time. And often for investors, that just makes your business too small. So are you thinking big enough? Are you solving a big enough problem? Are you thinking about scale? And are you thinking about, it's not just about what you can achieve, but the team that you can build to achieve it. And women are not so au fait with thinking about building big teams. We've thought about what can I do and what can I achieve, maybe with a few people helping me out. But we've not had a lot of role models in our lives for women who've made it big and built big teams and run big corporations. And so women who are able to just take the lid off themselves and not worry about what's possible, but think what could be, what could happen maybe in a decade's time.
Right.
That kind of spark is what we look for, and a scalable idea that could become something ginormous.
Oh, I love
So
that.
maybe that's the one thing. And
Yeah.
the second thing is really looking for, which is connected with the first thing, is looking for great talent, is looking for women who are confident, who are okay saying, I don't know what I don't know, but I want to learn. I'm hungry, I'm driven, I'm committed, I'm ready to do whatever it takes to make this happen. And they've just
Yeah.
got some spark
Yeah.
inside them. And those two things combined, we know we can work with.
Oh, I
Because
love that.
you are teachable, and you've got a crazy big dream, and you are ready to make big things happen, and you've got some track record of some kind of proving you're a go-getter in some capacity. It doesn't even have to have been in running a business before, but that you've really got some spunk about you, then we are going to be interested in you.
I love that. And Jose, that's such a good question. Sarah, what about investing in Latin America?
Yes, I know. And I just was out I've been back out to Latin America twice in the last 8 months. And we are looking at raising more capital right now so that we could replicate again, scale what we do, and also maybe branch out to Latin America. So it's definitely on our radar.
Oh, that's wonderful. Because, as Jose will tell you too, that there's just such great opportunity in our Latin American countries. Oh my
Exactly.
gosh. And I just want to say a quick hi to Gerald, and she's sharing, with my female co-founder, we created a company to bring that medical device through the FDA, angel funding, market entry, and growing Floel Inc. to a unicorn in 5 years. Wow. So she had said earlier that in addition to mentoring female founders through the MIT, Portugal, and BGI in Lisbon, I have also invented a cure for a major disease that affects 1 billion women. Gerald, please put the link into the comment section so I can bring it up on the screen. Thank you for that. That's a big.
This is what women are doing out there. Women are dreaming big dreams and just, going after big, hairy, audacious goals and saying, I'm going to cure diseases that no one else has cured, and I'm going to solve world poverty, and I'm going to solve this, and I'm going to solve that. And women are out there doing crazy things.
They are doing crazy and wonderful things because, we just need to add more wind to their sails and help them leverage with capital. And that's what you're doing with Enygma. And Jose said, great, thank you. He's so excited about that. And, and just wrapping up, I just have 2 questions. One is, what does success look like for your Enygma Ventures? If you're looking out over the next 5 years, what does that look and feel like for you? Like, what have you accomplished? How have you served the world?
I think it's 2 things. I mean, it's easy to say unicorns, right? But I think more importantly than unicorns, I think it's raising the profile of women in Africa. It's raising women to create more wealth for themselves and build wealth, and build accessibility to wealth. Because I know when you invest in women that the impact that women have is just extraordinary. So I think it's creating opportunities for women. It's creating the wealth opportunities for women, and
so you're okay if your companies, create $50 million businesses, right? That's a win, or 25 million.
Super excited about that. That would be a massive win. That would be a massive win for Africa. It would be a lot of jobs. It would be impacting GDP in meaningful ways. In fact, we did a study recently that realized that if we could just build, I mean, this is a big, hairy, crazy goal, but if we could build 1,000 businesses that could do 100 million in revenue each, the GDP of Africa would just go through the roof. That we would change the economic makeup of a continent if we just saw 1,000 businesses grow to being able to do $100 million of revenue. That would be very meaningful, and it would change the economic status of a continent.
Yeah. So, and why wake up in the morning if you can't help in that significant way?
Exactly.
I
So
love
can we
that.
grease the wheels to making that happen and helping businesses grow in extraordinary
Oh my
ways?
gosh. So Sarah, I can see just from talking in this wonderful hour with you how entrepreneurship has served you both personally and professionally, but share a little bit about what you've seen from the woman who in 2009 sat down with her husband and said, "Let's do this African, camping experience. Let's bring that to the US," to where you are today with that wonderful, wonderful goal of changing and impacting the GDP of an entire continent. How has entrepreneurship served you both personally and professionally?
Being an entrepreneur has changed my life. Um, it's been an extraordinary journey, and a journey that is still ongoing and is still not over. And I am eternally thankful for the opportunities and the people that have helped me make progress and climb mountains and do extraordinary things. And my fulfillment and mission now is helping others go on the same journey that I've been on myself, because
It's
it's
so
an
great.
incredible ride.
And founders love funders like you and your husband because you have been in our seats. You have the deep empathy from having walked through it and been an operator yourself. And
Yeah,
so, so often we run into these partners at venture capital firms that have, graduated from a wonderful Ivy League school.
yeah,
And now they're, deciding if they're going to deploy capital. Whereas you can look a founder in the eye and say, "Ooh, they've got that grit. I
yeah.
know because I've been there." So
I've been there.
that's what makes your fund even more special with everything else on top of it. Sarah, thank you so much for joining me today. Any last thoughts before I pop you into the green room?
It has been an absolute joy being here with you, Andy. Thank you so much for having me on. And for all those entrepreneurs or would-be entrepreneurs out there, let me just say, do it. It will be the best thing and the scariest thing and the craziest thing you've ever done, but it's certainly not dull, and it might just change your world.
Absolutely. And I agree with Richard O right here. Wondrous vision helping businesses. So, so very true. I know you've impacted lives from our conversation today. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to pop you in the green room and quickly wrap up the show. Oh, folks, wasn't that amazing? Did you not love the stories about Under Canvas and what Sarah has walked through and how that just gives her such a better perspective and a greater ability to, serve others the way she's doing that now. Yes, Jose, thank you for sharing with us this journey. Is so, so important. And speaking of journeys, we've got another one we're going to go through next Tuesday on August 16th at 12 p.m. EST. And our guest is Rashid Galadansi, and he's the CEO and co-founder of Driver Technologies. And he's sharing his founder journey stories from launching an AI-based mobility tech company that delivers a safer driving experience. Let me just throw this up so you can see what we're talking about. It's a dash cam, okay, so that you can be a better driver. But also, it's kind of fun that we were just talking with Sarah about this. He's also a venture partner at the Social Entrepreneurs Fund and a director at Pigeonly. So he's all about giving back and being part of the social impact experience. So I hope you can join us then, either live or via replay. And until next time, you've got this. I really believe in your ability to figure out the challenges that you're facing. Make sure that you talk to others. Make sure you ask for help, okay? And reach out. Give me a call. Reach out to me via email. Whatever you need, we're here for you. And until next time, I'm wishing you a delicious day everywhere you glow. Mwah, everyone. Cheers.